welcome everyone to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be attempting to paint a little camping scene. I've never done this before, so I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how it turns out. I took my standard birch panel, primed it, and now I'm layering in my sky colors. I'm using my standard sky colors of ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, but this time I'm also using some violet mixed in. And now we do a little sprinkling, splattering of some titanium white over the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and drop the sky down just a little bit more and lighten it so that we have a really good contrast with the big mountain I'm going to be putting right in front of it. And we're going to add in a few more sprinkles so that it ties in with the rest of the sky. And now we're going to be using a dry brush with a little tiny bit of titanium white, and we're just going to scratch that right into the surface to create some really soft, floaty clouds. Okay, so here is the fun part. Let's drop in these mountains using a flat palette knife. I love this palette knife. It's the best one I've ever bought. I don't remember where I bought it though, but I will find an equivalent and drop it in the links down below. And now I'm going to drop in a few really soft mountain peaks way off in the distance to give this more space. And here I took some titanium white and phthalo blue, and I'm just very gently grazing the left side of the mountain to give it the appearance of some shadows. And now I'm doing the same thing, but with pure titanium white on the right side to give the mountain a really great pop of highlights. And I'm going to be dropping in some trees here really loosely, kind of sloppily. It doesn't really matter. They're way off in the distance, and this is more like just a filler. And now I'm loading up my fan brush and dropping in a few trunks for some trees that are going to be closer. I'm going to make sure that not all of them are perfectly straight, because trees don't really grow like that, and then your painting's going to look kind of boring, so we want them at a few angles. Now taking that same fan brush, I'm going to load it up with a paint that's similar to the sky, and I'm just going to drop it in the bottom half of the painting. I don't really know what shape this is going to be until I'm finished, because I don't really have a plan yet. I know I want to try to at least mimic the sky a little bit in the water. I think that would look really cool, but we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out. Taking my wonderful palette knife again, I'm going to use a little bit of dark color here to drop in some tree trunks. They don't have to be perfect because this is going to get covered up again with some more tree branches. And I'm also going to drop in a few branches and twigs and loose details in the background just so it doesn't appear so flat. And then I'm going to load up my fan brush with a much darker green color and go right over those trees to also give them a little more detail and depth. I took some titanium white and burnt sienna and that same violet color again and made a nice soft earthy tone here. I'm going to then highlight with some white, give it some texture, blend it into the waterline. I think this looks pretty cool so far. I'm going to take some of that dark blue color that I had in the mountain and bring it into the water. Again, I'm trying to tie in the top half of the painting with the bottom half of the painting. And now taking a little bit of white on that palette knife, I'm going to scratch in a few little details here on the water, kind of give it some life, and then add a little soft titanium white to those water's edge so it has more defining look to it. The water line's starting to bug me. I really need to break this up somehow, so I'm going to drop in a few bushes and see if that helps. I don't know if it will, but we're going to give it a shot. And I'm just going to come in with a little dark burnt sienna, touch of black, and add some shadows in here. Try to give it some more depth and texture to the dirt. And I'm going to drop in a few more twigs here. Again, I'm trying to break up that water line. I feel like it's just a really harsh horizontal line I have, so I'm not too happy with it. I'm going to work over here on the right and drop in some rocks and focus on the other areas of the painting until I can figure out what to do with the left. I think I'll drop in a little tint right here in yellow, which is the complementary color to the violet, so I think that should look really nice. I've never painted a tent before, so hopefully this looks okay. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight and a little bit of bright yellow and darker yellow in here to give it some sort of texture, even though this is pretty far off in the distance and it's pretty small, and a little bit of detail there for those leg poles. And I need to add a little bit of darkness underneath to give it some weight so it's not just floating in mid-air there. And I might as well darken up the surrounding areas and try to get this dirt looking more like dirt by adding in some more texture. And I'm going to try to brighten up the trees around the tent since the tent's producing light. Those trees should be a little bit brighter, which means also the ground should be a little bit brighter as well. I'm going to drop in a few rocks here to kind of balance off the painting and then make a little fire pit area. I think that would look really nice. I'm mixing a little bit of cad red and cad yellow for the base of that fire pit, and then I'm going to add pure cad yellow above that. Try to make it look like some flames and sparks are coming off of it here. Now I'm going to take a little bit of titanium white with just a touch of black and gently rub that into the painting to give it a soft, smoky look. And now I need to brighten up the ground around that fire pit because the light is bouncing off of the ground. I'm going to brighten up the tent as well. And here I've decided to go ahead and give a little alpenglow to that mountain in pink. And going back to the water, which I don't really know what to do with, so I'm going to sprinkle in some white and try to mimic the sky above until I can figure it out. And I'm going to go ahead and use that same process over on the dirt area to give it some more texture as well. Okay, so here's what I have so far. It looks okay, but that left side is bothering me and I really need to fix it. This line is way too harsh cutting across the painting. Everything else looks pretty good, I think. There's enough detail in the trees and the mountain and the sky I really like. That little bit of alpenglow I love. And the smoke's okay. The campfire area is cute. I do like what the dirt looks like after I sprinkled it with paint. But I think I need to work on this a little bit more. So it's the next day. I slept on it and I decided to make this a little bit more of a story. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in a shooting star right here off in the distance. And I'm going to go ahead and drop in a pair of lovers walking along the water's edge. I think that would be really sweet. And I think I'm going to go ahead and make the person on the right pointing up at that shooting star. I think that looks really cute. I need to brighten up this tree here a little bit more, adding some more details with yellow. I'm going to add in a little bit of blue here on the silhouettes to kind of break up that flatness, and then finally tackle this left side of the painting with that really harsh line. I'm going to move the water line over and bring down that dirt and add in some shadows here and see if that helps. Now it's just starting to look like a really round lake, which is not what I want. So I'm going to keep bringing it over and maybe just turn this into a river instead. Okay, so I think this might be looking at least a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and also drop in a few trees here for more detail, give the painting some more depth. Also, hopefully it'll help continue to break up that really harsh line I have going on right there. And I'm going to go ahead and drop in some bushes as well, continuing to break up that line and give it a little bit more detail. I'm adding in some texture here to the dirt so it's also not so flat in appearance. Hopefully that'll give it a more interesting look. And I'm going to put some highlights on these dead trees here, kind of make them pop against that mountain. So this painting has been a little bit of a challenge so far because it is so small and there is so much detail. I'm usually painting on a much larger scale and with oils. So doing something like this with acrylic is a definite challenge for me. So I'm adding in some rocks now, brushing in some highlights, trying to break up the water so there's more areas of interest to look at. And of course I need to add some white around those rocks to give it an appearance of motion, add some contrast, and I'm going to lighten up the river the farther back it goes and kind of bring that to the foreground just a little bit to give it some more detail and texture. Okay, so here's the finished painting of my little camping adventure. The river here was trying to mimic the sky, which I think I did that pretty well, and there's a lot of detail in this painting. If this is something that you liked watching, go ahead and hit that little like and subscribe buttons down below and let me know in the comments what you would like me to paint next. Thanks for watching, everyone, and happy painting!